Welcome to our Animal Justice Academy Lunchtime Live. I'm Kimberly Carroll, and our topic today is dealing with the challenges of being an animal advocate coaching hour. Welcome to all you compassionate beings here with us live, and welcome to those of you who are watching the replay. So happy to have you with us as well. I'm the Director of Animal Justice Academy, and today, though, I'm putting on my Coach for Changemakers hat. I've worked as a coach for 14 years now. I've worked with a lot of animal advocates, hundreds, thousands of animal advocates, including nonprofit leaders, grassroots activists, and undercover investigators. And today, folks, I try to do these coaching hours every once in a while because, being an animal advocate, we wouldn't have it any other way. We wouldn't, none of us want to take the red pill and forget all about it. We want to be there. We want to know the truth. We want to work for animals, but it's bloody hard. Okay. It can be really hard. It can be a rough road to walk to be an animal advocate. So I just really want to be able to create some space for all of us to appreciate that and to give a little bit of healing balm to some of you and to help you through any blocks that you might be facing right now in your own journey. So the first thing that I'll explain how this is going to work. There's been a couple of questions submitted in advance. Kirsten has put in a link that if you'd like to submit a question anonymously, there's a link, but I'm really going to invite you to share your questions in the chat so that everybody can kind of see where it's coming from and we can support each other that way. And also, if you ask a question in the chat, please indicate whether you are willing to unmute and for us to talk through it a little bit. And I'd like for you to understand that when you do that, you are doing a great service to the community because I'm going to guess that what you're facing is something that many others are facing or are going to face. And so for you to be able to talk it through with me in real time can just be so helpful for everyone. Okay. So if you have a question, you can just indicate, yes, I'm willing to get on mic to talk about it, or no, I'd rather you just answer it. I'm fine either way with that. But before I get to questions, I want to make sure we're all in the right place for this. Before we started our record, I dropped some, distressing sort of updates on you. And so I'd really like to take a moment for all of us to just close our eyes or cast our gaze down, whatever feels right to you. And let's just start with a great big opening breath. Just do some shoulder rolls backwards, just to loosen up, just to remind ourselves that we're not just a walking head, that we have a whole body to kind of resource, to listen to get sort of power and strength from. One more big shoulder roll, and then letting the shoulders relax back and down, and just shaking out the shoulders a little bit and letting the shoulders completely soften. And I just want you to slow down your breathing and just listen to the sounds in your space. I want you to feel the air around you, whether it feels warmer or cooler, if there's any movement of the air. I want you to just see if you can pick up on any aromas in the air. And just asking yourself in this moment, in this very moment, are you in grave danger? And likely you're not in grave danger right at this moment. And so I just want you to have a place of safety. We're having to put ourselves out there so often. So right now, just come into a place of sanctuary where it's okay, where for a moment you can rest and you can Sort of just notice what is. Maybe you're in a warm place and it's cold outside. Maybe you can hear loved ones nearby. Maybe you can hear the birds. What are the simple good things right now in this moment? Because, folks, we cannot be of service in an effective, enduring way in this world if we do not give ourselves a break and some rest and some time and space to process. So just breathing into your heart now, see how it's feeling, no judgment. Breathing fully into the heart. And then on the exhales, just seeing if you can relax, if you can soften the heart. And if you can recognize that you are in a circle right now of just a lot of people who care so deeply for the animals, for the health of this world, that love and compassion is abounding here. And just be able to sink into that. I know I am. Okay, let's take in a nice big cleansing breath now. And on the exhale, I just want you to shake the body out, okay? Shake out the shoulders, shake out the hips, shake out the stomach, the chest, shake out the expression on your face, shake out the thoughts, shake it all out. And when you're ready, coming back to eyes open. That feels better. How did that feel? How did that feel to folks? A little bit, one of the biggest things I hear sort of the pushback around kind of taking care of ourselves is we don't have time. The animals are suffering at any moment. And that is true. But if we stay in that suffering 100% of the time, all the way, we will burn out before you can say the weekend. Okay. It's just not possible. Our systems can't handle it. And I want you to go about your animal advocacy in the most efficient, effective, and enduring way possible. And that requires these little breaks to say, right now, right here, right now, it's okay. I can relax. I can rest and let go. I'll get back at it later with much more space, with much more focus, and much more resourcefulness. All right. So, tell me in the chat, folks, what did it feel like to stop for a minute? What did it feel like to take some deep breaths? What did it feel like to tune into the senses? That is actually a really great tool when you're feeling like the anxiety or the emotion is getting to be too much. Just close your eyes and just ask, am I in grave danger right now? And hopefully you're not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. And you can just kind of ask what is so right now and start to relax. Okay, so I'm going to need some questions in the chat, but I do have a few to start with. So if you have a question, you can put Q, star, star, star Q, just to differentiate it from the rest of the questions. That would be great. And I'm going to start off with a question from they actually didn't put their names. So, yes, they did not want to come onto audio, but I am going to absolutely address their question because it's so timely. The question is, I feel extra pressure about this topic. Oh, I guess they mean the topic of the coaching hour today because of holidays quickly approaching. I can't decide whether it's better for me to take the liberation pledge and refuse to be at a table where animal products are being consumed, or whether it's better to be at the table with my family over the upcoming holidays. And if it's being at the table, how do I handle a big animal carcass as the centerpiece? I am sure this is something that so many of us struggle with, especially those of us who are vegan for the animals. So thank you so much for bringing this up. Okay, so I will give you, and again, this is just a lot, I'm talking to you as a coach. I'm also talking to you as an activist. So take what resonates for you and let go of the rest. But I will say the Liberation Pledge is a tricky one. Okay. Basically, it's an ultimatum that one creates. And for the most part, it's an ultimatum to convince those who are close to you to make meals that you have together, or to go to meals together that are strictly vegan, which can be a great strategy. But on the other hand, these are some of the down points of it. If they don't answer that ultimatum and do that, you are literally no longer at the table and having the potential to influence people to choose differently. Okay, to bring your vegan dishes and say, "Hey, try this. It's actually amazing," and them to go, "I never thought vegan food could be that great." It also doesn't give you the opportunity, like how often do you get asked about your veganism at the dinner table? That is when I do my best advocacy. And so, losing that opportunity can be really tough. And also, if it does sort of force them to become, to do vegan meals, and it's not like they are not feeling good about it, they're feeling really forced. It can make people feel resentful, which can be worse for the animals. That's what I always go back to in when I'm confused about what's the right way forward. I ask, what is best for the animals? What is truly best for the animals? And not just at face value, but if you were to really look at more of an overview. Okay, so for example, if they do take the ultimatum, but they're incredibly resentful, that can create real rifts in your family. And those real rifts, if you're close to your family, can be very devastating to you as a person. It can take away your energy. It can take away your focus, your sense of safety, which means you're not going to be as good at what you do, which ultimately isn't good for animals. Okay. So that's an example of looking at it in a larger view. All right. But so the answer that I'm going to give, though, around this situation is it depends. It depends on who you're dealing with. Okay. If you have a family that you feel like they just need that little extra, to transition to vegan meals, then maybe the Liberation Pledge would work for you. If you have a family that is going, that it's going to cause a lot of disharmony and resentment, maybe it is not the best thing to do. And if you are going to be sitting at the table at this, holiday during these holidays, and you have a turkey that was once an alive, sensitive, intelligent, social being, a dead carcass of that being there, I want you to just, spend a moment to just, feel some something in your heart around that, because we never want to be hardened around that. And to just really send out your love and your commitment to all the animals that are out there still alive, that you're doing what you can do. And then you let go. Okay. You let go and you do what every good animal advocate does. You make it look good. You make being vegan look good. Okay. You be awesome. Okay. That is one of the best forms of animal advocacy, or especially vegan advocacy, is if you are a vegan that people know, that is just awesome. Okay. That you are healthy, you're warm, you have great answers to things, or you're trying, you're curious, you don't judge, but you have really succinct, sort of answers to people's questions. That can be that can do so much more than any other form of activism. Okay. So remember, you don't need to always speak up. Sometimes speaking up isn't the best thing for the animals. Often it is, but sometimes it isn't. So think a little bit more strategically, think a little bit more long-term. All right. And then for those of you, again, who think the Liberation Pledge is the way to go strategically, totally support it. Also, some people just take the Liberation Pledge because they cannot let it go, and they cannot compartmentalize. Okay. Because that's what we're doing when we sort of notice and then we let it go. We're compartmentalizing. We're saying, I am putting this aside right now so that I can, concentrate on the task at hand. And that is only helpful if you are always going back to that shelf at opportune times and grieving and getting angry and doing all the emotions that you need to do in your own space where it's safe and where you are not going to harm yourself or the movement. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to look at, I have another question that came in advance, but I'm going to give priority to some of the folks that are here. So let's just see here. John B., are you here and would you like to come on to audio to chat? John, if you are here, you can just put up your hand.
Hey, yeah, hi.
Okay, hi, John. Okay,
Hello.
John, how about you? Do you want to ask your question out loud so that everybody can hear?
Sure. So, it often seems to happen that you talk with somebody who's not vegan and they get obsessed with this idea of trying to find something you do that doesn't fit with their idea of what vegan is. Mm-hmm. And if they find something like that, then the conversation is completely shut down. They just don't want to hear anything about cruelty or, any kind of discussion on veganism because, what you said or what you did one time doesn't fit. Therefore, I'm not listening to you. Mm-hmm. It's very challenging, especially when it's someone who I know, like in the family saying.
Yes, absolutely, John. Oh, such a good question. Thank you so much for being willing to come on and ask it live.
Sorry about my voice.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, your voice sounds so rough, John. You've been doing lots of chants or something?
Gotta drink some water.
Yeah, you go for that. So John, so mostly this is people that This isn't like during outreach events where it's just really on the spot and they're like, what are your shoes made of?
It could be both. It's both. Okay. It's people on outreach, on the streets, total strangers.
Yeah, and then people well.
Yeah. But it can also be family members at different times.
So I think, one of the things that I find is really helpful in the vegan conversation is, a lot of people accuse vegans of being self-righteous, holier than thou. And so that's a really important thing to disabuse them of very quickly, even though we can be. We've seen the truth. We know how awfully, what eating of animal products is causing. And so it's very close to us. And so it's not surprising that we feel some outrage around it. But that, again, when we ask that question, what is best for the animals? It's not the outrage, okay? It's building bridges. And John, I find the best way to build bridges in situations like that is to really make them take them off guard by really being a bit more humble, okay? And by saying, hey, I wasn't always vegan, I personally tell people, yeah, like I was the biggest meat eater until I became veg. Like I ate steak and I, used to love KFC. Like I never thought I could become vegan. So it's just things like that they get the idea that, oh, okay, so you don't think you're perfect. You haven't always been perfect. So that's very helpful. Another thing that I do is I just say, oh my God, I'm far from being perfect. And I'm not like, even as far as veganism goes, I slip up, but I'm trying to do the most I can where there's the biggest impact. Okay. I'm really trying to do the best. And really, like, I suck in a lot of other ways. I'm trying so hard. I will say to people, look, I know flying is really bad, for the environment, and I'm trying to cut down, but at the end of the day, I am still doing some flying. So I suck in that way. I'm working at it, and so just being able to show what some of your shortcomings are, and that you're not presenting yourself as the perfect specimen. Okay. So being able to say, oh yeah, like I still wear these work boots that have leather on them because they come from before I was vegan, and I don't want to waste any, I don't want to cause any more consumer pollution by buying other ones. But yeah, I can understand that that would feel confusing to you, but that's the reason. So yeah, so John, just being able to go, friend, if you're talking to a family member, brother, I'm not purporting to be, perfect at all. I just, this is the eating. The way you eat is actually such a high impact thing that, I'm just trying to find the places where I can be, where I can avoid suffering where reasonably possible. And that is the definition of veganism, to avoid animal products where reasonably possible. Does that make sense, John?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So just wherever you can be a little bit more humble, wherever you can just go, take them, like I said, just they've got their guard up. Okay, they're like, oh, they're a vegan, obviously their shame trigger has gone off, and so try to get them out of that shame place. Okay, just say, no, don't, like, I understand, like sometimes it just doesn't get through, or there's other things that you're dealing with, but let me tell you what changed me, let me tell you what got through to me. Okay, not this is what you should do, this is, I can't believe you don't know this, this is, you need to know this and this. It's like, this is what was a wake up call for me. Okay, so it makes it more personal, it makes it more of an exchange of experiences. Okay, thank you so much, John, thank you so much for being unmuting for us. Okay, let me see. Sheni, would you like to come on? If you'd like to come on and unmute, you can just put your hand up and we'll unmute you. Sheni's got a question. And if not, Sheni, you can just put in the chat that you'd like for me to just answer it for you. Okay, I'm not hearing from Sheni, so Kirsten, just pipe up if you see something from her, from them. I shouldn't assume. Okay, so Sheni says, I am a legal intern from Sri Lanka. Every single day, I feel very strong negative emotions for all the animals suffering for various reasons. All I want to do is have a career in any capacity to help end this. But unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, the only animal welfare rights jobs available is volunteering at shelters. I just want to switch my 9 to 5 into completely working for animals, but migrating and finding companies that will hire me to work in another country is, oops, it just went down for me. Country is something I have not yet achieved. What can I do to get hired to work abroad and finally start a career in animal advocacy and end my own mental agony from having skills to make a difference, but not be able to start? Oh, Sheni, I can so feel for you. So a legal intern, amazing. So you're gonna, yeah, that is awesome. So happy to have you there and working for animals. Now, sure, I understand your desire to want to work full-time in animal advocacy. And there could be possibilities for you to work remotely. There are a lot of problems with that because a lot of organizations have to hire from the country where they're based, but not all. There is an organization called Animal Advocacy Careers. Kirsten, if you don't mind giving a little search to see if you can find a link for that. I hope I got that right. And they do have some training around how to build around animal advocacy, making animal advocacy your career. And so in the meantime, what I'm going to suggest to you, Sheni, is that you can do a heck of a lot by doing this as a passion project. Okay, you can do so much by doing this as a passion project. So if you're able to secure yourself some work where it's kind of 9 to 5 and you can just get your work and you don't need to take it home with you, and it's not too energy consuming. So basically a job, a job that just really supports you so that you are free to do some really targeted animal advocacy of your own. That would be ideal in the interim. So, really looking at where in Sri Lanka do you feel is sort of the next step of animal advocacy. You can look to other countries that are similar, but maybe just a little bit ahead to see, where they've gone with their strategy. And you could be the person that starts an initiative. Okay. You could be the one who does your own thing, because right now, yeah, you're saying if you were to get a job, it's really not doing the kind of advocacy you'd want to do anyway. So maybe you just free yourself up to do some work on your own. Now, if you haven't already done Animal Justice Academy course, please make sure you get in there. The second week is all about various ways of making a difference in various communities, and it will give you lots of ideas and lots of names, and hopefully inspire you around that. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for that question. I am going to sort of try to stick with the questions that that are having to do with our sort of wellness and sustainability as animal advocates. So let me see here. Okay, Jeremy, let's have you come on. Jeremy said he's willing to come on camera. Love that. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Kimberly. Hi, everyone.
So good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks
Okay,
for having us.
so Jeremy, tell us. I'll let you talk about what it is that you're interested in.
Yeah, I guess this is a big topic that we could discuss for hours, but the
Yeah.
key thing to me that's helped is kind of analyzing the positive and negatives in my life, and
Mhm.
also that some of those are within our control and some are not. I've seen in the chat, and something that's been affecting me recently is seeing trucks. That's not really in our control besides staying in our house, but creating our own social worlds, hanging around with people who are positive, and maybe as difficult as it may be, people who are dragging us down, kind of distancing ourselves maybe from them. And they could be friends, they could be family. And that's difficult, but it's a sad reality, I think. But I guess just trying to filter those positive and negative activities. And then I guess alongside that, a big positive activity is self-care routines. So kind of what we do and the
Yes.
frequency, because it's great to say, oh yeah, I'm mindful about self-care, but all of a sudden a month goes by and we look back and we might not have done anything. So I know for me, like a big thing
Absolutely.
is just getting off the computer. Not necessarily right now, but just in general, taking breaks and going for a walk with
Yeah.
the dogs and
Oh,
just being
yes.
outside. I mean, how many of us just have sit on the computer before hours have gone by, or even,
Mm,
and the phones are another great example. Just a bit of a digital detox, but just kind of opening the discussion for everybody's self-care routines and what
mhm.
they've done that works well, but also how to, probably more important rather than the what, is the how, and how to
Mm.
stick to those routines.
Yeah, the how and how to stick to it. I love that question, Jeremy. Thank you so much. And I would love for folks to put, if you have some regular self-care routines or practices, I'd love for you to share them in the chat. Jeremy, I love it's okay. So people make self-care seems like such a huge bloody deal. It's like, oh, I have to have the perfect, bubble bath and candles and music. And I'm always like, no, it's not about, like, bubble baths can be great, but self-care is so much more. Self-care is really the act of honoring this being who is doing all of this important work in the world, or hopes to do all of this important work in the world. Okay, so it needs to be a priority. Okay, as I've said, when we don't take care of ourselves, we either lose our effectiveness, or we tend to lose our energy and burn out altogether. Okay, so it's a very important piece for everybody, and not to just go, whatever, self-care, I'm tough. No, it's you can be tough, but I don't want you to be tough, because that toughness will eventually bite you in the ass if you're not giving yourself some time to rejuvenate. So, Jeremy, I have a daily routine, and that is what really helps me, making it a routine that happens no matter what. Okay, just the length of it might change. Okay, the elements within it might just be shortened, truncated a bit. If, like, say today, even though we had an investigation coming out and this was happening, I still did my morning practice. I had to, otherwise I'm not showing up in, with the juice, of who I am, the full juice of who I am. And so I'll just share what I do. Basically, first thing in the morning, before I go on my phone, before I go on my computer, because the moment you start to engage with the outside world, I feel like you get pulled in. Okay. And then you get into this urgency mode. Everything's urgent. Everything's an emergency. Okay. And it's almost like your brain chemistry changes and you go from the frontal lobe to, this more primitive brain that is just like, must do, must do, must do. So I really try to resist going on anything. And so that I can stay in sanctuary for the very first part of my day. I usually do, I read or listen to somebody who inspires me. Just for a few minutes, just to get new information or old information reminded, that reminds me. And this isn't for, it's not about educating myself. It's just about just getting some ideas that make me feel centered or make me explore a little bit more, make me open up a little bit more. Then I meditate. I can meditate anywhere from 10 minutes to 40 minutes. Again, depending on what I have time for and what I need. I then do some just sort of free-form journaling. I call it a mind dump. And it's basically me just writing down on a piece of paper everything that's in my head, okay? The good, the bad, the ugly. And what the mind dump does, I just write for 5 minutes, uncensored. No, it doesn't matter the grammar. I can't even read it half the time. But what it does is it just takes everything that you've been carrying and puts it into black and white. And first of all, it's kind of cathartic to do that, but also it allows you to see that maybe it's not as scary as what it feels like in your body. And the third thing is it kind of starts a little bit of a dialogue with yourself. If you're an animal advocate, you need to be your best ally. Okay. You need to be the voice inside of yourself that says, go ahead, go a step further. Come on. It doesn't matter. Even if you fall on your face, I'm here for you. Okay. It's okay. You need to be that voice in your head when the grief is so heavy that says, it's okay, sweetie, curl up and rest right now. Okay, so establishing a more companionable, sweet, and ally relationship with yourself is really important. And I find that simple act of writing every day, almost to myself, is a really great way of doing it. And then the last thing I do other things, like I do yoga and I do running, cathartic running is one of my practices. But as far as my small morning daily practice goes, the last thing I do is an appreciation list, kind of like what we did at the end of that meditation a little while ago. What is good? Okay, I am surrounded all day by what is not good, what is horrific, what is bad, what is angering, what is hopeless. So I like to go into it with a base of reminding myself that there is beauty in this life, in this world, that there is kindness, that there is love, that there are things to delight. It's really important, okay? And it's not, I'd like to see you expand that even more than just an appreciation list. I'd like for you to weave joy into your week. That's what I would really love, is I'd love for you to be able to make sure that you're scheduling things that delight you on a regular basis, or things that relax you, or things that make you feel safe again or connected, okay? It's an important part. Joy should not be suspended, because joy is one of those things that most cultivates our energy and our power and our endurance. Okay, it's what lights us up and it's what fills our tank. And we need our tanks filled as much as possible. Jeremy, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely appreciate the response. I'm just impressed you're able to do that each morning. I think I've set out to do that many times, and I might do a day or two, but it sounds like you've got a great routine around, and not having no as an option. And I think when we do things first thing in the morning, we're less likely to be distracted throughout the day. So that's a great way to go about it.
Yeah, Jeremy, honestly, if I didn't do it first thing in the day, I bet you I'd go days and days without doing it, because I'll get sucked up so quickly. And it can help just charting it. Have a little list on your chart, on your fridge, of the things that you're going to commit to doing each day for that, and just have a little check mark. And it's a silly kindergarten thing, but it works wonders when you have something there that you're accountable to, or have a goal buddy, have a practice buddy that you say, hey, I know that you're trying to do this and I'm trying to do this, or you're trying to do something different and I'm trying to do something different. How about we check in each day via text just to see how it's going? Or how about we check in weekly? Gerbine and I have started to do that as far as our writing goes, just, checking in. We're both trying to work on books. And so we're both checking in to see and make sure that we're making time for writing, because we both have incredibly stupid schedules. And it's unbelievable how much, when I know Gerbine is waiting to hear from me of whether I'm doing it, how much more I'm apt to do it. So excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. Such a good question. Love it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. Yeah, okay, Elodie, I would love to address your question. Would you care to come on and talk to me directly with this? Just put your hand up if you're there, Elodie. Elodie. Okay, I'm not seeing a hand up, but I will answer the question. Okay, she might have left. Okay, so Elodie is asking for tips on how to deal with graphic images. I feel like a hypocrite if I avoid looking at them, but when I look at them, I am just sick to my stomach. Yeah, and this is such a good question, Elodie, because I think there are a lot of people that feel very similar to it. In fact, Joanne MacArthur talks about sort of PTSD and I think it's Joanne that talks about this, like a sort of secondary or secondhand PTSD. So the idea that just by witnessing the images, the video, even for some of you, hearing me talk about the Excelsior Farm earlier on might have just been too much for you. And I'm sorry, I probably should have given a warning even before I talked about it. And so it's really important for you to understand like how serious this is. You are doing this work because you care so deeply. Most of you care so deeply about animals and feel such a connection. Some of you are doing it more from the justice lens, and which is perfect. But for a lot of us, we have such a deep connection with animals, and we've had such deep experiences with them that our hearts are so attuned. And so when we see these videos and these photos, oh, it's devastating. And so, first of all, if you are already a vegan and you are an animal advocate, you don't need to watch them. Okay, read the blog about them or read the caption about them. Just know, if you want to be educated, which I think is great, especially if you're going to be sharing or talking about it, read about it. I do find that sometimes reading about it can be much less triggering for people. Sometimes it's the opposite. I remember working on an undercover investigation video. I often produce and edit those, and I'd been with this video for so long, and I'd become very, like, it wasn't touching me anymore. I'd so compartmentalized. And then afterwards, I was reading the legal brief that we submitted, the legal complaint, and it was something about reading it that just cut through my heart, and I just wailed. I just cried. And so, yeah, so it's good to know what mediums are really sensitive for you. Okay. So some of you are going to be too visually triggered. And if you are already a vegan and you're already an animal advocate, you do not have to watch. Okay. I'm giving you permission. And in fact, even in the animal justice team, we don't ask that everybody watch the video. Okay. We just say, if you want to, please do. Like, of course, the people that are working hands-on on it, but some other folks on the team, it's not a prerequisite. Okay. That as long as they know the basic facts, that's what we're concerned about. And you could get a friend to describe it to you if there's no sort of bullet points. But for those of you that are like, no, it's important for me to watch it. It's important for me to watch it for the information. And for me, sometimes watching the videos, I do it to keep my motivation sharp. Okay, I keep it to keep my heart glistening as far as this goes. So for me, I do actually feel a need to watch the videos in order to keep me going. It's hard, but so this is the part. If you are going to watch the videos or watch the images, look at the images, you need to do it very deliberately. Okay. So I do not recommend, oh, there's a new undercover video. I'm just, in the middle of your day, I'm going to watch it. No, get the URL, put it aside. Okay. And choose a time in your week, or if you have to watch a bunch, choose a time in your day when you very deliberately sit down where there's nothing else going on. There's no pop-ups, there's no texts, where you're feeling a little bit more centered, taking some deep breaths, maybe a warm blanket, maybe a tea, and you're feeling, okay, I maybe have the capacity for this right now. And so to be able to sit and watch it, and then after you've watched it, to have time, to make time to process it. Okay, you need to properly process what you see. Okay, like what we just did when I before again we started recording, and I was talking about Excelsior, the Excelsior video. I mean, I had to. The emotion came up, and we took a moment to breathe into it and to feel it. Okay. And so that is really, I'm going to give you a recommendation in the Animal Justice Academy course. Again, if you're not a part of the Academy, animaljusticeacademy.com, and you'll get instant access. Week 6 is all about this stuff. Okay. It's all about how to keep your resilience up as an animal advocate. And I particularly do a workshop on processing pain. Okay, so, all of the different tools, and I'll just share with you right now, even if it's just a quick, after you've watched it, doing a mind dump about it and writing, oh my God, how could they be so horrible? And I feel like I want to drop out and never come back, whatever it is, or I'm so angry, just letting whatever you're feeling come out on the page. And then afterwards, like scribbling it out or ripping it up. It feels really good to let some of that big emotion move through you. Or sometimes that shakeout, like the kind of shakeout we did at the end of the meditation, just shaking it out of your body a little bit. Sometimes it's taking a moment to just connect to that animal and just see the animals that you saw in that video being out of pain now, just being released, being free. Okay. And just feeling, the end of their life and the freedom from the horror that they had to suffer. So Kirsten just put the link for that in the chat, that workshop. And actually, Kirsten, I have that workshop up on Google Drive as well. So that would be very easy for people to access. So maybe even grab that if you can. Okay, Elodie, I'm so glad you're here and that's helpful. Yeah, so very, very, but again, no need to do it if you do not, if it's too triggering for you. Again, ask the question, what is best for the animals? Having you in a sobbing heap on the floor for 2 weeks, maybe not the best thing for the animals. Okay. All right, let's go to, okay, Mark. Mark, you put a question in that I would love to address. Mark, are you there? Maybe just raise your hand. And if you don't know how to raise your hand, there's dots at the bottom and it says raise hand there. So Mark, are you anywhere to be found? Okay. I'll give Mark a second because I just see Sherry's, I see Sherry's question, which is a really good dovetail from what we were talking. And, oh, sorry, Shani asked, what tools, routines, sorry, it's a moving one, do you use to compartmentalize? Yeah, so to compartmentalize, I very deliberately kind of, some people think about putting it in a jar. They think about taking these thoughts, these feelings, and literally like pulling them and putting them in a jar and sealing it and just saying, I'll be back for you later. Okay. Some for compartmentalizing, like I said, just again, shaking it out of the physiology of your body can be really helpful. And to remind yourself that going there right now is not going to be helpful. Okay, so it's really things like that. It's kind of, think about what a friend might tell you. It's just like, no, Shani, you need to be on your game right now. So you need to let go. Let other activists hold this for a little bit until you can get back to it. Okay, you need to focus right now. Okay, and that is the other thing that really helps folks in all of this, because I'm seeing questions about despair and motivation. I want you to remember that there are millions of other animal advocates in the world right now. It may not feel like that sometimes. You may feel like you're the only one and you might be, if you live in a remote area, you might be the only one in a very big radius. But there are millions of us out there, and it's not all on your shoulders. Okay. I really want you to take your corner of this and I want you to run with it with great ferocity. But when you're tired, it's okay to rest. Okay. It's okay for you not to take all of that in. Okay, so let me just see here. I was addressing Mike's question, and then I will get to Ivy, and then I think we're going to be out of time. Oh, sorry, it's Ivy's question first. I think Ivy and Mark kind of have the same question. Ivy, do you want to come on and unmute and talk to me? Sometimes very helpful to be able to get your input. Where did Ivy go? Ivy, just raise your hand. Oh, she can't. She's at work. Okay, no problem, Ivy. And we have Mark not here as well. Okay. Sorry, as I'm trying to multitask, folks. You know I'm not the greatest multitasker. Okay, Ivy said, sorry, Ivy, you put it in your question that you're at work and you can't come on camera. Okay. Any tips for managing emotions around ex-animal advocates you once looked up to, were good friends with, who have since renounced veganism and now eat meat indiscriminately? I feel overwhelming anger at them. They know the horrors of animal ag so deeply and are intensely involved with other social justice movements, and yet still made the choice to go back to eating meat. It's much easier for me to share space with someone who's never been vegan than an ex-vegan who consciously chose cruelty and oppression. Unfortunately, they're still enmeshed in my social circle. Oh, Ivy, how frustrating. How frustrating. But I will tell you, I have an incredibly close friend that has done just that. And I'll tell you what I have observed. This friend has gone through incredible traumas and just doesn't have the capacity to care. And I know that sounds super lame, but okay, so there's number one thing to consider, and that is that they never really got it in the first place. And that is a piece that I like to talk about as far as anybody that you're speaking to, that you've spoken to about veganism, and they're just still not getting it. A lot of people will say to me, you know, because I really like to take the attitude on that if they haven't changed, they still don't know. They don't really know. Like, they don't really understand the harm that their eating animals is causing. Okay, they just don't get it. And then people will say to me, but they do know. I've shown them all the facts. They've seen the videos. They've blah, blah, blah. And my answer is, they don't truly know it inside. Okay, something has still not cut through. Something has still not gotten there. And you may know that from experience. You may know that you heard it in many different varieties, and then just one day something cut through and you got it. You got it at such a deep level that you could never imagine forgetting it or betraying it. Okay, that person that was, you know, an animal advocate may never have actually gotten it. They may have gone there because that's what the group was doing. That's what somebody they were close to is doing. It might have been because it kind of made sense and went along with, you know, other things they were doing, or they just felt like this is what they should be doing. They're looking around and going, oh, I guess if I'm a social justice activist, I should be doing this. But maybe they just really never got it on a deeper level. And it's that deeper level that really counts. Okay. So this friend of mine, a leader in animal advocacy for a while, but I think it was done out of a place of ego. Okay. I think they're drawn to the injustice of it at first, but then it was a sense of identification and ego that kept them in it. Okay. And that's not enough. That's not enough for this hard, long road. It needs to come from a place of love, folks. And you know how hard it is to fall in love. You know how hard it is to open yourself up to love something so deeply. Okay. And so it takes just the right circumstances. And so, just to know that those that have moved away, they maybe never really were there for those deeper internal reasons. And if they were, and again, this friend of mine, it's both. I think there was a sense of feeling it, but there was so much trauma that happened to that person. They just no longer had the bandwidth to care. And I'm pretty sure they're going to find their way back eventually. But what I've had to do is I have just had to be an amazing animal advocate in my own energy. I've loved him because he is a dear friend. I don't keep anything from him about animal advocacy, and I let him do his own thing. All right. He does not fight me on it. He does not try to talk me out of it. He does not diminish it. If it's somebody for example, is actually actively going against animal advocacy and veganism, that's a whole nother matter. Yeah, you don't need those people in your circles. You do not need to be spending your time and energy on them. Okay. That is somebody who is being driven by guilt and shame. Okay. For whatever reason, they've decided, again, probably peer pressure or, lack of bandwidth, or, it doesn't fit their identity anymore, that they no longer are going to do this. But the guilt is so deep that they have to push against it, push against it, push against it. And if that's the case, they already know there's probably not a lot you can say that's going to change them. And there are millions of other people just ready and waiting to hear what you have to say. Okay. Concentrate on those people. Thank you, Ivy. I'm glad that helped. And Mike, I'm just going to dovetail off into your question because I think there was an addition to it. Mark says, I share Ivy's feelings of losing respect for those who know the harms but choose to eat animals anyway. I just feel they must be callous since they're not ignorant. Ignorance I can forgive. I can't decide if it's worth keeping those callous friends. I can't go to their barbecues or have meals with them. I was at the Excelsior protest. I just get too upset to sit with friends while they casually eat ham and cheese sandwiches. I've given up on them. Yeah. And so, Mark, yeah, you know what I've just said. If they're not good enough friends in other ways, then let them go. But if they can feed you in other ways, then let your friends and families and close ones be your friends and family. Turn off your animal advocacy because sometimes we just need to feel safe within our close ones. Okay. We just need to feel like we have shared history, like we have people that really care for us. And if you don't bring your animal advocacy to that, that's okay. Again, thousands and millions of other people that are ready and willing to hear that message. But again, I really want to hit home this thing about them being callous and, them being horrible people. I believe that everybody is doing the best they can from the level of awareness that they are currently at. Okay. And again, that level of awareness, that level of consciousness, and some people are just not able to get it again at that deeper level. And I feel a little bit badly for those people. We have the privilege of being able to have seen the truth, first of all, to have been exposed to it, and to be able to comprehend it and understand it at a level that makes us be able to act from. Okay. And that is a privilege. We have the right mindset and the right biology, to be able to entertain something that a lot of people aren't able to entertain because the status quo is so strong. So really, I do look at it as a privilege, and I look at those that haven't been able to grasp it as, I try not to judge because I'm privileged. I got this opportunity. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to keep on figuring out what the angles are that might reach them, that might open their mind, might help them with a crack through the programming that we were all installed with very early in life. Okay. And for whatever reason, somebody cracked my programming at a very, many years ago. And I'm very grateful. It wasn't just somebody, it was many buddies. And I'm so grateful because I could be one of those people at your barbecues right now. Mike, I was a big meat eater and I loved it. Luckily, somebody convinced me, and it was actually a somebody in the form of twin calves that convinced me that my love for animals could be just a little stronger than my love of meat. That was the turning point for me. Okay, I hope that helped, Mike. All right, folks, I've kept you a little bit over time. I'm sorry that I don't know if I might have missed some questions and not gotten to them. Probably we need to do another coaching hour in a little bit. If that sounds good to you, I will try not to make the distance between coaching hours so long. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. As you can probably feel, it's not been an easy week in my environment, and I'm sure it hasn't been for a lot of it's been tough for a lot of you. And so I'm so happy to gather here in a circle. I don't have all the answers. I just work pretty hard at this kind of stuff, and so I'm very happy to be able to bring you my viewpoint and try to navigate through some of these prickly issues together. One other thing I just wanted to say, I do something called the Changemaker sessions every second Wednesday evening. And they are for people in all social justice movements. So it's not just animal advocates, but it is amazing. I have a lot of animal advocates that join, and it is such a great way to learn new tools and, again, to come into community more often. The theme next week is bridge building in times of conflict. And we come together. It's a smaller, more intimate group, and we just really have a wonderful time working through stuff. So it's just been so heavy in the world in the last few weeks and the last few years, that those of us who have the potential to be bridge builders, we need you more than ever. And so being able to help you to navigate the thorny path that we maybe that we are maybe on right now. And also, if you just want to sign up for the Changemaker sessions in general, please do, and you'll get notice of all the themes that happen. All right, everybody. Kirsten, can we unmute everybody for a second? Because I love to hear everyone's voices. Just a little unmute. We're going to ask everybody to unmute. Take your mute off. And I'm going to send you my love, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimberly.
Don't forget to
Thanks to
post your
everybody.
video. Bye, everyone. We're all into this together. Take care.